So I'm just making this video just because there was some videos out there of how to do a leak test, and I found a lot of them, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just going to break this one down to be very helpful to someone that was maybe at home and didn't have a lot of knowledge, because I found some of them, some people didn't even show where to hook up to, what to do. They just were like, apply air here and listen. So basically what you're going to need is you're going to need an air compressor. You can get these off Amazon for $12. I don't recommend using these right here. They send these to screw into the oil rail under your valve covers. I don't recommend those just because they break off. These little brass fittings, they're no good. And I wouldn't over tighten this either because, that it's cheap metal. But this right here will screw into where your IPR valve is, which is right here. It's right up under the turbo. You can get to it without pulling the turbo off by pulling the thickum and your reservoir off for your coolant, and you will need a tool if you're going to do it without taking the turbo off. If you pull the turbo off, which in my opinion, if you're, you think you have a problem with your pump or a leak somewhere, better to go ahead and take your turbo off. You just unbolt your down pipe clamp, your Y pipe clamp, 3 bolts on the turbo, the line on top. It's not hard to get off at all. And a lot of times if you're having trouble like I did, the turbo bolts can strip out. You can go to your auto parts store and get some of these right here. They're 4 stripped out bolts. They work great because my turbo bolts were completely rounded off for someone that had it before me. I don't know who did it, but they put rounded bolts back on there. But if you get those, like I said, you can have turbo off in 20-30 minutes if you've done it a time or two before. It's not hard. And then what you're gonna need is you're gonna need an air compressor, and you're gonna need you a gauge, and then a straight up valve, just so you can cut off the air, because obviously you don't want to just leave, you don't want to pump air to it and then not have some way of shutting air, because air will flow back to the air compressor and then you won't get an accurate reading. So basically what you do is, you'll pump your air compressor up, to whatever you want. I'd say 100 PSI. And then once you get there, you can cut your air compressor off and, release air into your high pressure oil pump system, and then shut it off till, like I said, I go to about 100 PSI. And then, just watch it. You can watch your gauge to see if it's leaking down, or you can listen. What I found was the case was I had air gurgling out of my oil filter, and air was coming out from right here that goes to the turbo, which is a sign of your high pressure oil pump not working correctly, and it's done failed, and it's going back. Basically what's happening is the air is going through your high pressure oil pump back into your low pressure system, which is why you hear it in your oil filter. Now, if you didn't hear it in there, you can listen through your oil fill cap, or you can listen through your breather valve over here. And like I said, I'm just explaining this, I'm no Ford technician, but I'm just explaining this for someone that's home that's, maybe trying to save a couple bucks, and do it themselves. That's some of the things you can listen to. And also you can listen, around your valve covers on both sides and around this pump cover. Like I said, if you hear it through in here, but it's not coming out of here, could very well be an O-ring on your pump. Or if you got the newer models with the SCT snap fit, and those, I know those are really bad about, blowing out, and you have to do, use the revised fitting. So like I said, it's not, but I think, 8 bolts to hold the pump cover on. Once you get turbo off, and it comes right up. So that's just a couple of things to listen to. Like I said, if you don't hear it from over here, a lot of times if you hear it come from over here, it's probably an injector or maybe a cracked oil rail, oil log, whatever you want to call it. If you hear it coming from a valve cover, and a lot of times if you hear it coming from under the pump covers, an O-ring, or sometimes you can hear from the standpipes. I've heard the standpipes from inside the valve cover and from inside the pump. So, like I said, but most of the time, you're probably going to hear it through your oil filter, because most of the time, these oil pumps on these early 03s are real bad about going out. But I figured I'd just make this to maybe help someone out that doesn't know a lot about it. And like I said, there's 3 bolts to hold the turbo on. You got your down pipe, your Y pipe, and then some coolant lines and oil feed line on the top of the turbo. And I leave the alternator on. I leave everything on. I just unbolt turbo and the Y pipe. And I do find that going down there and loosening from your downpipe down there so you can move this, it's a lot easier. And like I said, the Y pipe, I normally just kind of take a pry bar and pry it back a little bit. You do need to be careful with those flex joints over there. They're bad about breaking. But like I said, you can test it with the turbo on there. You're just gonna have to come in from over here with a swivel joint and that special socket, and you can screw it off, but you will have to take your fickum off on your reservoir. But I find it a whole lot easier that if you think you have a leak, or you've got a problem with your truck, you're probably gonna have to tear it down anyways. So I mean, go ahead and pull the turbo off while you're at it. It's not that hard. A lot of people talk like it's hard to work on these trucks, but I mean, it's really not. It can be a pain sometimes, but it's doable. But anyways, I figured I'd make that video for if anyone needed it. Thank you.